Hey, you guys like the joke from the saltwater video? Well, I'm about to repeat it. I don't have any herp tanks, and I don't think, honestly, herp footage would be that interesting. So here's a watercolor drawing of a snake. There you go. It's an aquatic snake. Yeah, podcast. Let's go. Your rights will be determined by your level of fish keeping. Find where you are on the berg.
My leg.
So, guys, fish are pretty cool, right?
No.
No,
No.
not really.
Okay, yeah. Well, you know what's cooler than fish is reptiles.
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
Oh,
Sir,
wow.
Sir, why don't you talk about reptiles?
No,
Sure.
for me. Oh.
Hi, folks. Welcome to the TCT podcast. Today, our guest is my man Serp. Serp has educated me on so much to do with reptiles. I keep reptiles, but this man is on another level. This guy knows everything there is to know about reptiles. So today we thought we'd talk to him about aquatic reptiles and aquariums and
Terrariums and
capital autonomous zones. So let's start off with Serp. What reptiles are you keeping right now? I know that's probably a list of 200 animals, but
Well, no, actually, I keep it pretty small right now. Mainly my tegu, my reticulated python, my garter snakes. I have 3 now. Western banded geckos, a fire skink, a ball python. That's not much. Yellow spotted night lizard and a tarantula, but that's really a herp, so I don't count it. But I've had much more.
so
Awesome.
what's so ball pythons are not naturally occurring. What's the whole situation with them? Because I've been hearing,
We're diving right in here.
just right away. What do you keep? Okay, hey, what's your opinion on?
Hey, actually, I think we should step back here for a minute. There might be some users listening that don't know what a reptile is, so maybe we should start with a brief definition of what a reptile is. Sir, can you please explain to our listeners that may not know what a reptile is, please?
A brief definition of what a reptile is.
like a fish on land.
They are invertebrate. They have scales.
Oh, so like a
Generally,
frog. Like a frog.
no, frogs don't have scales. That's an amphibian. Can't fool me, buddy.
Like an axolotl.
No, not quite. Really close though.
Hey man, salamanders and lizards basically the same thing.
So what have you kept in regards to more aquatic reptiles?
I used to have a small army of turtles, but as for that, that's about it. Like I've never had crocodiles. I've never had like alligators yet.
This dude's never had a crocodile.
Yeah. What kind of herp keeper is this?
I have a friend who has a crocodile. I used to give him fish when I worked at my fish store. I'd give him feeder fish for his crocodile, and apparently he literally just buys Nile crocodiles. He grows them out to like 10 feet, and then he trades them to the local fucking reptile shelter, and then he just starts again.
Want to hear a fun fact? I know somebody who does the exact same thing, but they trade like 6-foot American alligators for tegus. Just constantly.
How
So you
many
said
American
these are written-
alligators do you need for a tegu? What's the exchange?
What's the
Um,
exchange?
3 to
The
1.
exchange rate, I would say probably, I don't know, man. A baby alligator's like $200. I've seen them as low as 60. That's pretty impressive. But I would say probably 2 mid-sized alligators for a really good tegu morph, like a blue or something like that, or an ice.
What is the Canadian exchange rate on that for?
1.5 alligators for 1 tegu.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know Canadian money, but I'm guessing.
So you've kept water snakes, right? Like
I have had many Nerodia in my time.
Yeah, that's the name I was thinking of. So, how would you set up an enclosure for them? Because they tend to be pretty aquatic.
I would say,
They got water in the name. They have
They
to have
tend to
something.
be
yeah,
pretty
I mean, that
aquatic.
by logic, obviously. For most species, I would do 75-gallon minimum, just because they do swim, they do climb, they bask, stuff like that, which isn't that far from a garter snake. So all nature scenes, I say, need a big area to soak, hunt, because they do eat a lot of fish. High up basking spots, so you could do a paludarium, but a big water bowl is basically the same.
What would something like that eat? Because
Nerodia, I give mostly once they get past the neonate stage and they're actually turning into bigger snakes, so maybe 8 inches to 12 inches, like they're gonna be eating a lot of your live bearing fish, guppies, swordtails, mollies, platies, whatever you have. But once you get that stage, it's not really feasible to feed those unless you feed a bunch of them. But most will take scented pinkies, they'll take frog legs, they'll take tilapia fillets, salmon fillets, stuff like that. One of my big male Nerodia would take tilapia fillets right out of my hand because they do tame down if you work with them.
Cool.
would you say that is the peak of aquatic reptiles? What's the peak?
That is the peak of aquatic reptiles is crocodilians by far, but they're a little bit hard to access for everybody. So I say second best is probably still not water snakes, probably sea snakes actually, but way down at the bottom somewhere. I think water snakes are there, sitting comfortably.
Sea
They're
snakes
really cool.
gotta be
Hey,
harder
sir.
to access.
Here, I got a question. How do you feel about Herpeta and like the tentacled snakes? Because I've always wanted those.
Tentacle
love
snakes look amazing.
Uh-huh.
They don't do a whole lot, so don't expect that. But to see
That's
them
fine.
hunt is very cool. Actually, your Blackwater tank would be perfect for one.
I don't think my Nondus would do so hot.
That's
Uh,
okay.
no.
Would they swim out?
Don't put
I mean,
any-
like,
Don't put any fish you value in there. But if you wanted to clean that thing out one day, yeah, a tentacle snake would be pretty good for that.
Well, I don't know much about them except that they're really cool. Are they? I'm assuming they would escape though. It's a rimless tank.
Probably, but with tentacle snakes, this is where it's kind of. I've heard different things, but generally, it's don't take them out of the water because their skeletons can't support their own body and they die.
Well, that's cool.
So if it does flop on the floor, it's just gonna die immediately. So I would say if you put a tank lid on there, it'd probably be okay. But if it does, don't have to worry about finding it because it's just gonna be laying there in a heap dead.
They also, anyone who's ever seen a tentacle snake, they got two kind of, well, they call it a tentacle snake because it's got two little tentacle-looking things on its
Like
nose.
kind of like catfish, like barbells, I guess. But
And I know they have some sort of sensory function, but do you know
Got
anything more
snarls.
about that? I don't really know.
no, I like from what I can see them hunt, it's line weight. So I'm guessing that picks up just when fish get in range, they kind of sight in and know that something's there. I don't think their eyesight's very good because they hunt in like really dark water. So
That makes sense.
my guess is that's entirely reliant on them. And I've never seen them like use scent or anything like that. So I think it's just those barbells they hunt with.
Okay.
I used to have a tentacle snake at my old work, and this was something people at work would say that I don't know is 100% true. Can they tolerate seawater and brackish? Because they always said that they could.
I don't know anybody who does it because I don't know. What I'll tell you, good snakes for those are your file snakes. So Acrocordus granulatus and stuff like that. They love brackish water. And what's cool about those is to get them to drink, you have to top off the tank with fresh water. And in that period of it settling, they'll drink the fresh water off the top.
Damn.
But those are cool for it. Tentacled snakes.
Would that be
I
a
don't
kind
know.
of thing of like, do they drink just rainwater in the wild?
Yeah, it's literally leaves, the rainwater coming off the leaves and stuff like that hits the water. They'll just kind of pool in these small pools they live in, and they'll just drink off the top.
Cool.
And then they go back and sit there and do nothing.
Awesome.
So I also heard that they were invasive in Florida. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know about that, but it wouldn't really surprise me all that much.
Interesting. I have a thing for sea snakes. I wrote a paper on them not too long ago.
Sea snakes are really cool. Really, very, very venomous, but I mean, they're really interesting.
Yeah, Aquarium of the Pacific had a few. They had the oh my gosh, the why am I blanking? The black and white ones.
Those are the, is it like the
Oh, sea crates.
yeah.
Sea crates. That's like on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, they weren't very active, I noticed, but they were pretty cool.
If you put them in an environment where they can get up out of the water, they do actually they'll hunt from tree branches overhanging water.
I was told by a good friend of mine who has a lot of experience with both fish and herps that most sea crates, especially the abandoned sea crate, the most common in the hobby, don't really do that well in captivity. Do you have anything to say?
I know for a fact they don't like glass, and they'll just surf the glass constantly and rub their noses off, basically. But if you can keep them in like a saltwater pond, or like where it's completely closed off and stuff like that, I've heard they can do well. Still need huge enclosures, obviously, but that's better for them.
Well, I just scanned through the Wikipedia article on sea crates, so I think I'm kind of an expert now. It says they actually do not like light. They're very sensitive.
No, very dark. They do a lot of hunting at night. That's why they like climb into like holes and rocks to eat eels and stuff like that. So when those animals are active, they're active.
Mm-hmm.
So I know
think it's a poor pet.
Probably, yeah.
I know,
it's just really cool.
I know sea crates are hydrophinae, and then there's also the other group of sea snakes with hydrophis, the hydrophis group, and they're less colorful, but the big thing with them is that they got a hole at the top of their head, which is for blood flow while diving, and apparently it's to increase oxygen to the brain so that they can descend for greater periods.
I was gonna hope you said that it was like a blowhole, like a whale. They shoot water out the top.
That would make me so happy.
Snorkel snake.
Snorkel snake.
I remember I was reading some articles on this a few years ago, and basically they found this weird kind of hole in the top of the skull, and they did a CT scan of the full snake, and they found like this huge network of blood vessels leading into the brain around that area, but only in the hydrophis species.
No, I just don't know enough about sea snakes to talk much about them, but they do seem very interesting. I've never had like any venomous snakes, so it's not really my thing, much less aquatic ones.
How do you feel about David Froelich, the guy that free handles like super dangerously venomous snakes?
Oh, my stance on free handling is kind of, you can do it. I don't recommend it, but you can do it. It's not so much it's stressing on the animal, because I mean they're probably not caring all that much. Like if they were really cared about it, you'd be dead.
I mean, I free handled my Bothrops Asper just last week, and I only lost one arm. So.
Okay, it's this like Justin Bieber looking motherfucker just free handling like super dangerous snakes.
Yeah, I do know who you're talking about. I don't like his intro on YouTube. It's pretty cringy, but
that's the verdict. He has a dumb intro.
It's just some like just stock metal song he found for free.
We should get a stock metal sound for the podcast.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a stock metal sound.
I don't remember what the song is called. I'll have to find it, but I do know what I think it's in my liked videos actually, because I thought it was funny.
So, I assume you keep a lot of wild caught.
Yeah,
and I assume you catch a lot of them yourself. But if you're buying a wild caught reptile, what's your thoughts on people like Tom Crutchfield?
Tom Crutchfield, I don't think he's okay. Aside from the snake keeping, because he's terrible at keeping snakes, the way he does his iguana and stuff like that, I don't think it's a terrible thing. Like he has such a ready access of iguanas, so if he needed new stock to just go catch some, he lives in the perfect spot for it. But people who go out and actively search for these animals in non-native habitats and then ship them overseas and stuff like that, I have more of a problem with that, because obviously we don't know a lot about their population and stuff like that. So if you're constantly taking animals for pet trade, I don't like that. Tom Crutchfield, I'm kind of more leaning about, because he can just go get something if he really needs to, because he lives in Florida. But Asia specifically is a lot of habitat loss, so stuff like your dragon snakes, which are really cool, your Borneo earless monitors, we're just harvesting them so much. We don't really know how many people are out there doing this, so they're probably going to be on the decline really, really bad.
Because for those of you who don't know, Tom Crutchfield is actually in the intro to Tiger King, and he's basically a huge reptile shipper. He's like the guy who started shipping a lot of these reptiles. And he was actually arrested for some of the trafficking of exotic animals he was doing.
I would say most old-timer reptile keepers have been arrested for doing stuff like that.
Because I had a buddy who was a herpetologist, and he would always tell me that if he could kill one person in this world, it would be Tom Crutchfield. Just because of how many reptiles would die on the way to being shipped and all of that.
Yeah, I don't know, his wife is like 30 years younger than him, too. It's not really a dig on how he keeps animals, just kind of strange. How he secured that.
He is an ugly man.
He looks like, I don't know, almost like a great value Santa Claus or something.
He looks like if you ever he looks like if you go into New Zealand and he was just walking down the street, someone would ask him like, "Can we cast you in Lord of the Rings or some shit?" Like, my man could be an orc. He's so red.
He's
Dude, that guy is red as fuck. He looks like a toe with those if you take your toe, you just put a couple rubber bands around it, and wait a few seconds. That's what he looks like.
Yeah, and you're allowed to be mean to him because he's mean to reptiles.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
I wouldn't be mean to him otherwise.
What about Serp? What about Edward Edward Tyndall?
You want me to talk about Edward Tyndall? Because I will, but
I do.
I really don't want to.
Okay,
I
if
don't
you don't
know
want
who
to.
that is.
Then
I don't know who that is.
he's.
You don't know who Edward Tyndall is? He's one of the best reptile YouTubers of all time. Don't you know?
I don't go on YouTube.
Okay, let me tell you. I'll just tell you a tiny bit of Edward Tyndall lore. There's so much to unpack. But there was a time when his reptile room got to like 140 degrees or something like that inside, and he cooked like all of his animals. I'm talking like 8 corn snakes, like 50 tarantulas, 2 super dwarf retics, like 5 ball pythons, just obliterated the whole thing. And he said, he's like, I don't know how it happened. I didn't have the heating system hooked up right, I guess.
So I googled Edward Tyndall, and the first thing that came up was this guy who's the bassist for the 1980s punk band the Celibate Commandos.
Yeah,
And I just
I don't
want to
think that's
say,
him.
we here at TCT are big fans of the Celibate Commandos. We want to make sure no hate.
Sounds like a militia.
Well, his fucking picture is him holding some gun, and this is a very strange picture. Let me unpack it.
The main picture, the picture you will see of him most commonly is him in front of a Dollar General in the parking lot.
Well, I just
Yeah,
have
tank
this
top.
picture of my buddy from the Celibate Commandos. I don't know him, but I think we could be friends.
Celibate Commandos. No, I don't think that's him.
Oh, he feeds live rabbits. You know that's.
Oh yeah, he has 2 retics and he feeds them live rabbits. And
He,
when me and Spiritual watched the video, it's just him throwing these rabbits in,
Jesus.
and the snakes were not interested at all. Like they clearly didn't care, and he was just like, "Come on, you can eat it." And he's just like poking it with any object he could find to force it over to the snake.
including his hand, I believe.
Oh, his hand, I think a broom at one point, just any instrument that was nearby.
He also fed a quail, and the snake just kind of became friends with it. So
Yeah, there's like quails walking all over the retic. The retic doesn't want it.
It's actually kind of cool. I love
It's
quails.
insane. I had quail. That's the only bird I've ever had.
I wanted quails so bad, but I got a husky instead, and I just didn't think they were compatible in the same tank.
No, I don't think you can cohab quails and huskies.
you need a divider.
So, look into it further. All reptiles in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and the Raiders of the Lost Ark were supplied by Thomas Crutchfield. So,
No
those
shit.
movies are not
The
cruelty.
man's famous.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you another bit of trivia from that movie because it's one of my favorite movies. Is you know the Well of Souls scene with all the snakes and everything like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say 80% of those weren't actually snakes. They're all legless lizards because they didn't bite as much as the snakes did, so they just used those.
Have you ever seen the movie Holes?
Yeah, I have seen holes.
Remember
Oh, yeah.
how they were pretending the most dangerous, venomous,
They're gonna go on.
Yeah, the lizards.
yeah,
They're
there's
just
bearded dragons.
painted bearded dragons.
Beard dragons, that's what it was. Yeah, painted beard dragons.
I like that movie too. Don't ruin it for me.
Going back to Tiger King though, my favorite piece of trivia might even be kind of well known now is that Doc Antle was in a Britney Spears music video handling a tiger.
He was.
Yeah.
No.
Well, no, it wasn't a music video. It was like live on, I don't know, SNL or some shit.
Oh yeah, that sounds about right.
Here, I'll find the picture.
I was really late to watch Tiger King. I think I was like a month behind everybody.
I still haven't watched it.
I think you should. It's definitely
I haven't watched it.
insane if you have nothing else to do.
I've been trying to watch Mr. Robot, but I won't get into that now.
Bro, look at those dragons, dude. Those are terrifying.
Oh, we can talk about Mr. Robot. It's a great show. You should watch it.
I haven't seen it.
But
I just want to
Just watch the
throw.
leftovers.
I just want to throw this in here. Wouldn't it be great if freaking bearded dragons became super like venomous one day? I think that would really solve.
They just
They are
evolve.
technically venomous, actually.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
really?
if they became
How
the
is
most venomous.
I don't know how it is. I'm not a bearded dragon expert. I've never had one. But there's a recent study, I can probably find it, where they do actually have a mild venom. I don't know what the purpose of it is for, because they don't eat anything that like needs that, but
so I'm a proud Euromastix keeper. For
Of
those
course.
who don't know, it's a desert reptile, spiky tail. Can we all agree that those are better in every conceivable way than bearded dragons?
yeah, I think pet rocks are better than bearded dragons, in my honest opinion. Which I feel bad for saying. My girlfriend has a bearded dragon, but they're not for me. They're not my style.
What's their equivalent in fish keeping? What do you say? I want to say bettas because they're not like.
It's
No, I
Guppies.
wouldn't say betas. Guppies is close. I would say
Gouramis, because they're a little bigger.
Oscars,
You know?
Oscars, without a doubt. They get big. People like them because they think that they like are this.
No,
apex
the
predator.
iguana. Iguana is the Oscar. of the-
yeah. I would say
No,
maybe
because people can
maybe
actually
blood parrots were
house-
kind of close.
People can actually house bearded dragons, unlike
You can house an
iguana.
iguana.
you can house an
Yeah,
Oscar in the same size
significantly-
tank as a beardy.
Yeah, you can do a pound.
Yeah,
Well, think about it. What a person who keeps a bearded dragon, what would be their immediate reaction when they want to get into fish?
Oscar.
Oscar. That's what I'm saying. Oscar
I'm
or blood
actually
parrot.
with you on blood parrot. Yeah.
That's my yes, because the
They both have a
leopard
stupid
gecko
smile.
is beta. Okay, there's no debate. Leopard gecko is beta, but I think iguana with
Iguana is fucking
Ig-
Pangasius catfish.
like
So-
anoles or cories, obviously.
or maybe
Oh, God.
silver arowana. Maybe silver arowana is
What
Arowana
is
is no.
Look,
I
they
think
both-
arowana is closer to iguana because they're the kind of like a show-off animal,
They both have a stupid smile.
maybe.
what are the crested geckos of the fish world? I
This is like
they're
coolie
the
loaches.
rams. Coolie loaches? I
Yeah.
was gonna say rams because they're like the intermediate. They're like the everyone's second reptile.
There's a bunch of like weird morphs of them, like rams.
Yeah.
Is there a short body crested gecko?
Yeah.
Looking this up right now. Short.
Maybe if you keep one in a jar for a while or something.
Jesus.
I
I'm
feel like
saying-
I'm with Serp on the Coolie Loach thing because crested geckos are one of those beginner herps, but they're still good. You know what I'm saying? Like no
Yeah,
one's
like a-
gonna come out here and be like Coolie Loaches are the worst fish. It's just
No.
not right.
But nobody looks at a bearded dragon or a leopard gecko and says, "Oh yeah, that's a really cool thing." In the same
Yeah.
way, nobody looks at like a blood parrot and says, "That's a really cool fish. I want a ton of those."
And crested geckos are cool. My first herp was a crested gecko.
I've still never had one. Haven't taken the Cresty pill.
His name was Raptor, and
I love it.
he was tight. Me and him were tight. Once I was cleaning his cage and he wasn't moving, so I poked him and he bit me really hard. And I was young at the time, so I just fucking swatted my hand and he was holding onto it and he smacked against the glass of the cage. I'm not proud of this.
And then he died.
But he was just fine. He lived many years after that. I'm not proud of that, but it did happen.
You just confessed something, basically.
Yes, I've confessed to I accidentally swatted a crested gecko, but he was just fine.
I have only ever kept one reptile.
Yeah, you're an
What
FPV
was
guy.
it?
What reptile?
Warning geckos.
Oh yeah, you just got this recently too.
Oh, wait, never mind, I don't hate them.
You hate morning geckos? What?
All right, no, I'm thinking of day geckos. Day geckos.
Day geckos are the worst. Yeah,
Yeah, I hate day geckos. No,
they're
I'm
really territorial.
They're cute though. They're like they're green.
day geckos are the green and the red, right?
Yeah, those are the Geico boys.
I like.
yeah, no,
I like the house gecko, or whatever the fuck. Just the generic fleshy one. What are they called?
Like a $2 gecko.
Yeah, exactly. I like those ones.
I
You can go pull off any house in
got,
Texas.
I got a story about house geckos. So
Look at
the
it.
fish store I used to work at had a terrible roach problem. So we acquired from one of our importers about 100 house geckos and 10 tokay geckos. and you release them all. And maybe once or twice a week, you'd see one or two geckos just hanging out on the ceiling. You'd look up, and they're just there looking back. And slowly, the cockroach problem went away. Now the
I bet the
tokay
house gecko problem went away too.
the tokay geckos, on the other hand, became a problem because they lived behind certain areas where we would stock dry goods like canister filters and shit like that, and they would shit on everything. And then once in a while, once in a blue moon, you get lucky and you just like move a box, and this thing would just like stare at you and go, and like bark at you. That's
Well,
what
they scream at you too. Like they don't back
they're
down from anything.
They're dicks. Yeah, that's my story. I wanted personally to introduce about a dozen of the most based desert lizard, and that is the Gila monster. But they said no, and they were expensive. And we should talk about Gila monsters. That was my segue.
Gila monsters.
Gila monsters are awesome. Dude, Gila monsters are so fucking badass.
They,
The one doesn't look good.
There's 3 types of poisonous snake
Venomous.
fangs.
They're
Yeah, venomous
venomous.
snake fangs. Yeah. But there's the rear fanged ones. There's the front fanged ones, and then there's like the front fanged hypodermic ones. Serp would know about this. I only loosely know this, but I know
Yeah.
Gila monsters like chewing the venom.
Gila monsters, I guess they're kind of the equivalent of rear fang venomous snakes, because I know they have to chew on you for a while.
But don't the rear fangs have a greater groove or something?
I don't know. I know. I'm gonna guess probably because I know front-facing fangs are gonna be like they're hollow. I don't think they have a groove in them. I think the groove ones are definitely probably that one because it's a modified saliva. That's gonna really mess you up with that stuff.
So why don't Mexican beaded lizards get any credit?
I guess they're just underrated. I don't know.
I think they're underrated.
As far as Heloderma goes, they are bottom tier.
That's sad.
That's not fair. It's not.
It's not fair. Life is not fair.
I have a friend who has one.
Oh yeah? How is it?
It's still small right now, but it's actually. I hear it's actually getting used to handling, which is something I didn't expect. I don't know where he got it from.
What have you ever kept any sort of reptile with fish? Would you ever do that? With the intention of not having them eat.
You put a huge hole in what I was going to say. No, probably not. If you had something, because I can't think of any fish that wouldn't pick on a reptile, because either way, something's probably going to end up getting bitten. Maybe, like, I know people who, like zoos and stuff like that, keep, like, crocodiles with big fish. I mean, they get snatched once in a while, but it's not a huge occurrence if you feed them enough. You could probably do it. I don't know. Like, I've only ever fed fish to animals, so I don't know.
I know a herb that can be kept well with fish. The stink pot musk turtle.
You like stink pots a little bit too much.
Like stink pots.
Funk wants a stink pot. What's wrong with that?
San Diego Zoo kept they had caimans and stuff with about millions of live bears, and then they also have my favorite tank which had dwarf caimans and pygmy hippos with like a bunch of smash abomination tilapias and other random hats.
But I want pygmy hippos.
Pygmy hippos, the king of the tides.
Actually, you know what? That just made me think. I have kept a fish with a reptile, and it didn't die. I kept a convict cichlid with my mud turtle a long time ago, and it was fine. For a while.
For a while.
It was fine for a while.
Would musk turtles eat larger fish?
No.
I don't think so. Like, I don't think they'd even take a bite out of them. I don't think they'd really care.
No, they're really mellow. It's just at least in my state, I can't get one under 4 inches, so it's already too big. I was just gonna get a baby and then I don't know.
Well, just get 2, make them have children.
That is logical.
Around where I am, turtles are the most trafficked animal.
They're really trafficked all over. It's everywhere.
For us, it's the big one is the spotted turtles. I think that's
That makes
the name.
sense. They're kind of cool.
The Chinese ones?
They're
Unless you mean the native
black
ones.
turtle with yellow.
Yeah, those are
spots.
those are North American native.
Yeah, they're the most trafficked animal here. Like they're the most poached, I guess. Poached is the right word. So basically, whenever you find one, you're supposed to report it, and then the people who you report it to will then never tell a single soul. And they have a special book where they have the list of all the rare turtle sightings, and they protect it in a vault like it's like the fucking Ark of the Covenant. The second anyone sees this shit, they're going to be immediately catching these spotted turtles that they're going to sell for like 200, 300 a pop.
Oh damn.
Sounds about right.
Oh, there's also fly river turtles. We didn't talk about those. Those are basically
fly river turtle.
completely fish safe. You can put I mean, a big aquarium, but you can put them in an aquarium with anything.
I believe they have a fly river turtle at Fish Addicts in
Do
Langley,
they?
British Columbia,
I
don't
gotta
they?
check that out. They have
In the
one
big tank, it's a big square
Yeah,
tank that's
yeah,
like the
you're
size
right.
of the ceiling.
Yeah, no, you're right. They do.
I believe it's Fly River. I could be wrong
And
though,
I'm
but I
pretty
believe
sure.
that's what the
I'm
employee told me.
pretty sure you're right. I remember that. They also have one at the Vancouver Aquarium with a bunch of rainbows. It's this big like. I don't want to call it a paludarium because it's just got some fake trees like coming up the top, but it's cool. Here, let me
Is that a riparium technically?
I mean, yeah, I guess there's like a little land section, but that's just so the people. That's just so like an employee can go there and feed them. So
Yeah,
I don't know where the definition falls there.
I just googled these spotted turtles, and they found 170 going from Canada to the Middle East. I don't know.
I sent a picture in podcast of the turtle that I saw in the big tank that I believe was a Fly River turtle at Fish Addicts in British Columbia. There's his butt. Does that look like a Fly River butt to you?
From looking at that from my phone, I thought it was a fucking.
I thought it was a rock. I didn't see anything at first. I was so confused.
Here's the Vancouver Aquarium one.
Shit, I'm having a brain fart. What are they? Horseshoe crab. I thought it was a horseshoe crab.
I don't.
Look at him.
I
He's
would
just
say
sitting-
probably. I don't know. I don't know if they have that tail or not.
Yeah, the tail's here. Let's look this up.
I don't think I've ever seen the backside of a fly river turtle.
Fly river turtle ass.
That's what I googled too.
I'm
I'm not getting a whole lot of results.
It looks a little too
He looks too like
tall.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Because
Well,
aren't they relatively?
But then if you look in the one I sent, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think that's a fly river.
What turtle is it?
I don't know. I don't really think about turtles.
well, it's
I
got
need that
fins
turtle
and it's
ass.
got flippers on it, so it's definitely an aquatic turtle, and it has like the little ridges that fly. It's either a really really old fly river turtle, or it's not a fly river at all. But I have no idea.
It either is
Because
one or it ain't
A
one.
really really old one would probably look like that, but that tail's just so weird.
Are fly
That's a
river
fly river.
turtles cryptodiars or pleurodires? They're cryptodiars, right?
I really do not know.
Here, let's see what
Because,
Here, I got a screenshot here. It's a
Yeah, your two big groups of turtles are your cryptodiars and your pleurodires. And cryptodiars pull their heads in just straight in, like along a line, like I don't know how to say it. They just bring their head in, but pleurodires just turn their head into their shell.
That's like your side necks and stuff like that.
Yeah. So your side neck and your soft shell turtles are usually your pleurodires.
you know what?
But fly river turtle.
You can
I have
kind of
no
see
idea.
his tail there.
I just don't know enough about fly river turtles.
All I know is they're really funny looking, and I love them.
I know I'll never be able to afford one.
What happens?
Yeah,
if-
they're
can
for
they,
like what, 3?
It's just so expensive.
Can
I
they
could
go
buy so
We,
many reptiles.
What happens if you put
We
it on
actually,
land? Does it
the
just
fish
go
store I
back?
worked at, we had an opportunity to take in a fly river turtle. It was like trade. The guy wanted cash, and we wanted. Wasn't bad. I think it was about 500 or 600 is what we kind of settled at. And then the owner of the fish store came up to me and the other guy, and basically said, "Absolutely not. We're not a pet store. We're a fish store. No turtles." And we're like, "Are you fucking serious? We were gonna put it in our 700-gallon display tank." And they're like, "It's a fully aquatic turtle, though. It's basically a sea turtle." He's like, "No reptiles." It's like, "All right, fine."
Basically a fish.
It's basically a fish.
It was even like, "Hey, do you know what we could sell this thing for? Like easily $1,000, easily, and it would sell like in a day. All I have to do is like announce that we had it." But he's like, "No, we're a fish store, not a pet store. Pet stores smell bad. I never wanted to be a pet store. Like, this place smells like death."
Just
Well,
like
He
I
had,
know,
he had a whole thing that like chicks didn't dig pet stores; they only dig fish stores, and like he wanted to only buy things that made like chicks dig, like seahorses and clownfish.
I think
But
a
like
chick
when
would
Those
they come
seahorses
back
were
with
like terrible.
I think a chick would dig a fly river turtle. Look at him. He's got the little
I
pig
know.
nose.
I know.
It's a pig turtle.
I'm just gonna go out here. I think chicks dig reptiles more than fish.
think it
I
depends
don't
on the
know. don't know. 'Cause I've seen a lot more
yeah.
women keep betas and light bulbs than I've seen.
Like,
I've seen chicks keep like
Better in the label.
lizards.
Okay, I'm being alerted by multiple people in the Discord that I am wrong.
I don't know. Maybe you just never met a woman.
well, I don't think you want to date reptile girls. Reptile girls are kind of a special kind of crazy. I mean, I'm sorry to all the female reptile keepers that might be listening, but
I
you know,
know.
prove me wrong.
I would
Prove me
probably
right.
agree with
Send me
that.
death threats. I don't care.
I know a reptile girl, and her daughter wanted a cat, so she got her a tegu and named it Kitty.
Okay.
I know I know a reptile girl, and we've been dating for a long time.
Is
so...
she crazy?
No, she's good.
Okay, that's
She
good.
lives in I can't say anything.
Found a rare one, I guess. Then.
Oscar. Click twice if you're under duress. Click.
I think he's blinking.
So, but okay, going into that though, what we already talked about in a previous podcast, which if you're bringing, a one night date to your house or something, and we were talking about the fish that would most off-put them, and I think we settled on hagfish.
It's not seahorses.
Sorry, I didn't realize what you were going at. I thought you were going to say the opposite of what you said, in which case seahorses, undoubtedly.
In the opposite, definitely seahorses. But Serp, what is the absolute worst fish or reptile that you would not want to see at someone's house if you're going to their house for a one night stand? What's the most
ball python, easy. Ball python. I'm walking out of the house. You understand?
I think this is a good time to start talking about ball pythons and why.
My ex has a ball python.
See,
that's why she's
there. You go.
What a coincidence! Mine does too. Mine does too. Holy shit!
What am I telling you? What did I say the other day that really made Oscar laugh about ball pythons? I don't remember.
Let's try to find it.
I don't know.
I mean, to be fair,
I said they were spies.
All of her reptiles are rescues from people that were keeping them in shitty conditions. That she's giving them better conditions.
That's cooler, I guess, but clearly
but
not cool enough for you to stick around.
I still would not want to keep a ball python and 2 leopard geckos, regardless of the situation.
That's just a bad trio.
Ooh, that's a tough one. So if you just met like an absolute 10 out of 10 Victoria's Secret supermodel who, I don't know, is a millionaire, and you go over to her mansion with all of her other like super hot Victoria's Secret supermodel friends. She's like, "Hey, sir, I want to show you something. I want to show you my pets." And she opens a room, and it's just racks of Tupperware containers filled with ball pythons. Would you stay there or leave?
No, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave.
Even if she's like, "You can have all my wealth and riches, and I will make love passionately every night as much as I would on call."
At that point, this is how smart I am. I would take that wealth, sell all of her ball pythons, acquire more wealth, and get cooler animals.
Funk, you've read Watchmen, right?
Of course, I have it right next to me.
Well, a quote from that I think applies right now. Never compromise, not even in the face of Armageddon. If I walked into that house and I saw a ball python, I'm walking right the fuck out.
Not one ball python. One ball python, I'd probably let it slide. But I'm talking Tupperware containers with just like a little like a professional ball python breeder with just like a little piece of toilet paper and a water bowl. paper towel and a rock. They get a rock.
One ball python and I'd be willing to date, but I'd slowly try to poison it.
I would one ball python if it's kept at least. This is kind of important, but all of my animals are kept bioactive with live plants. I couldn't fathom settling for anything else. If a ball python was kept like that, I'd be kind of upset, but it's okay. I understand. If I walk in, it's in a 20-gallon with a turned over Converse shoe as a hide, a water bowl, and some newspaper. I'd be like, I'm gonna leave. I'm not coming back.
I just want, girlfriend to be like, "Honey, why are all the detergents right above the ball python tank?" No reason.
Why is there water all over the floor?
Serp, what's your favorite morph of both Reikish Schlegeli, the eyelash pit viper?
Oh my god, the yellow ones. I don't know
the
why.
Yellow ones?
Call me basic, but the yellow ones look the best. I don't even like yellow unless it's something that's going to kill me.
I like the Costa Rican, what they call the Christmas phase morph. Like, that is my dream snake.
I thought you didn't like snakes.
What?
I thought you didn't like snakes. I don't know why.
I like some snakes. I mean, honestly, the only snakes I think I would keep are Schlegeli, specifically the Xmas phase. Or, I like a lot of the bush vipers. You know, a good friend of mine is getting a pair of squams really soon, and I might get some of his babies from him because that's a snake that I really like as well.
Squams
also
make
feel
like
like-
perfect display snakes, by the way. If you
Are
want
they
a centerpiece
super
tank.
active?
Active, no, but they perch right out in the open. They're not like shy snakes. They won't just like retreat when they see you. They won't move basically. But
Although I do have one question.
yes,
The same friend, I was talking to him obviously jokingly about both Rops Asper, the Fer-de-Lance, the I forget what they call it in Central America. Barba Amarilla, the yellow beards, what they call it in Central America. And he told me those snakes are really like aggressive. I didn't really believe him. You know, what kind of most snakes I don't really see as aggressive animals unless you're fucking with them, right? But I was watching a video of feeding a Bothrops asper, and I'm like, this is a really mean snake. I would not want to keep this animal because it just kept lunging at the dude trying to feed it. Are squams like that at all?
squams. No, squams are just okay. The difference between vipers is most like rattlesnakes and stuff like that. They're the bite and let go sort of thing, which is debatably worse because if you're feeding live prey, it's just going to run around for a little bit till it dies. But with squams specifically, they grab hold and they don't let go. And stuff dies really quick, which I think is a cooler feeding behavior because you get to see them hold on to something. Obviously, I wouldn't feed live, but if you had to, it just looks cooler. And when you're feeding frozen to your rattlesnake, stuff like that, again, they'll bite it and they'll let go. And you just have to leave it in there, and you might see them eat it. So that's not as cool. But for food aggression, I don't think they're anywhere near like anything. Specifically, like mambas and cobras are super food aggressive, and they'll come out of the cage to grab it. So a squam, it probably will keep its tail locked around whatever branch it's on, perched, won't move. It'd be hard to entice it out. So it might strike, but I mean they're so small it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
I don't
Last
think
time
it'd lunge out.
here at TCT, if you're in the Discord, we did not too long ago. We did a feeding contest where everyone posted a submission of their fish or animals eating something. And we all had a jolly good time. We had some, exodons.
I know what you're gonna bring up.
We had some. I posted one of my African butterfly fish eating a cricket. Matt posted his beautiful mormarid eating some sort of pellet or something. And Serp posted the most disturbing video I've ever seen. He posts his which snake was it?
It was my boa constrictor. When I first got this is my fault, but when I first got her, I didn't ask if it ate live or frozen, and it ate live because it was weird like that. It's like the one boa that wouldn't eat frozen. So I was feeding it a live hopper, and I was taking a video of it because.
And
in case
what is a hopper? Because most people are going to
is-
think grasshopper.
No,
That was not a
grasshopper.
grasshopper.
A
That was
hopper
not a
mouse.
grasshopper.
A white little fuzzy like lab mouse is basically what it was. So that's the stage right after fuzzies, which are like they're just starting to get hair on them. But a hopper is like it looks like a mouse. Like it's got fur, it's got its eyes open, it's like alert and knows what's going on in the world. Which I feel bad for feeding, but I took a video of it, and I thought it was so cool that I put it in the contest.
That was
Looking back, it might not have been the best idea.
I clicked this video on my phone and I see this little mouse like scratching its head. I'm like, oh, Sir posted a picture of his mouse paludarium just like eating some pellets or something. Then I see this giant snake in the background. I'm like, no, run, little buddy, run!
And then
That was disturbing, my dude. I voted for you to win the contest.
Thank you.
Um,
I don't think
I voted for it too.
well, you
It
just
was a
found
good video.
your
I mean,
It's
it
a
was
great
cool.
video.
you found your 2 votes in that contest.
I really should have posted my spider eating, but
I had another video I was going to post, but it was like so graphic. I didn't want to post it because I knew it'd get taken down immediately. It was my fire skink eating a live pinky mouse. and it is so violent. He grabs the head of it with his mouth and is just clamping down on it, and uses his claws to rip the other half apart as it's still like screaming. It's a terrible video, and I'm so glad I didn't post it.
I would love to see it.
Hey, a good friend of mine just got a Western hognose about a month ago, about 6 to 8 inches, and it was eating frozen pinkies unscented before, and now it won't eat. Do you have any recommendations? Yeah, it's not eaten for about a month.
Not for a month. Okay, is it a baby still? Wait, what'd you say?
6 to 8 inches. So
Yeah,
yes.
it's pretty small. Okay, so babies are going to go after mainly amphibians in the wild. That's just how it is. In captivity, sometimes if they're stressed, they'll just not want to eat at all, which that happens. But it's been a month, so at that point, I would say try scenting mice or feeding something else. To scent the mice, either use egg yolk, tuna juice, or you can go. That's actually what works with me when I had my hognose. They would only eat tuna juice scented pinkies. I don't know why.
Like tuna.
I guess so. I don't know if it smells close enough to amphibians. I don't think it does. I've never really smelled a frog, but
Why
can
just
use that.
feed frogs?
If you could find a feeder frog, I guess you could, but I wouldn't want it to get hooked on that.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I
the other thing you can do is buy frog juice in a little bottle. I forget what site sells it online, but it's just like this green juice that smells like frogs. Yeah, it's like $8 for a little bottle of it. Apparently it works.
That's kind
I've
of
never tried it.
disgusting.
I don't know what it smells like, but I kind of want to try
Andy,
some.
just milk your dart frogs and then use that.
I'm
Sir-
sure you wring out a dart frog.
Sir, can you get us sponsored by your frog juice vendor?
I need to figure out what site sells it first of all.
There is nothing in this world I want more than doing a frog juice advertisement at the beginning of our podcast.
Listen,
Is
I
it
don't know how they collect it.
Reptilinks?
Yes, it is
I think I
Reptilinks.
found it.
It's like
Yeah.
this green bottle.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
It looks like somebody just literally
Show me.
scraped the back off a frog and put it in a bottle. It's like the
Lovely.
nastiest thing ever.
I sent the link.
Oh, hell yeah.
Anyone who happens to be listening from Reptilinks, if you send us frog juice, I will give you a shout out in every podcast.
Look at the reviews. It's like all 5 stars.
I heard it's really good. I've never tried it because I never had any snakes that needed frogs.
How do you make frog juice? You just blenderize frogs? I don't know. What do you do?
My guess is they take feeder frogs and they extract something off of them, or because it's probably like frog slime is what it smells like.
Yeah.
Probably not like frog meat.
Yeah.
So I don't know what
They
you
just
do to do that.
Grab the frog, wipe off the mucus, put it in the bottle. I don't know.
You know, I would never claim
Orange
to be a
juicer.
frog juice expert.
No,
I am
This
my-
is gonna be
I'm
this is gonna be the
become
next
that.
fucking dieting trend. Is with every meal, take a friggin' shot of frog juice.
How do you juice the frog?
You could ask the company. You could email them. They probably would respond.
I'm gonna email them. But Sir, what's
Okay.
your opinion on reptile heating pads?
Reptile heating pads are just so garbage. I use them for my my feeder roaches. That's about it. Because they barely get any care at all.
They're roaches.
But for reptiles, it just doesn't make any sense to use a black mat you stick on the bottom of the tank to heat up dirt.
I actually like heat pads because if I ever have a small gecko and I'm trying to heat him up for a quick snack,
If my
That's
microwave
always-
doesn't work, I just throw them on that.
Yeah. Press them down with a spatula.
It's kind of like the same philosophy of would you suspend your reptile tank over a lit grill to heat them up?
Yes, that is what it's like in the wild.
The heat comes from down below.
Yeah, of course.
you
It
know,
just makes total sense.
to Andy's friend who got the Western hognose, if you look at a Western hognose, it might be the cutest thing ever made. Western hognoses are absolutely adorable. And then you look at an Eastern hognose, you're like, what is that monster?
So
Give me my
let me-
real-time reaction.
I
let
had a
me
Western
post a
hognose,
picture.
and I think they're the worst hognose, honestly.
Which one?
Eastern?
Westerns.
Look at the
Don't Westerns eat a lot
We
more
said the same
Yeah.
image.
openly?
Is that the same one? Look at that monster. How
I
are
love
those
it.
things related?
I
As
love
far
it.
as North American hognose go, the Western is the better choice because Easterns are very, very picky. But if you go away from North America into other hognose species, specifically from Madagascar, so giant hognose and blonde hognose are the best hognose ever. My personal opinion, but I think they are.
Let's. I gotta Google what a giant
A giant
hognose
hognose
is.
is just a 5 foot long hognose. It's like black with yellow
Oh,
speckles on it,
it's a good looking snake.
Oh, I like him.
and they
There.
eat everything.
I want one of those. How much do I owe you?
I don't have one.
So
that
I
wasn't the
texted my
question.
friend. Serp, I texted my friend who's getting a pair of squams. I told him that I want his first child. And he said, get this. You should keep a less dangerous arboreal snake first.
They are probably pretty dangerous, I can imagine. I don't know.
You know, Andy, you actually still owe me something. The first baby Monkel Membi Bisher you get.
Yes, the first Mokulembembe will be yours.
Yes.
I don't care how much it costs to ship to Canada. I don't care. It's
One thing a lot of people generally ask, Serp, what's the worst attack by a reptile you've gotten?
The worst attack by a reptile is I had a blood python about maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and it's part of the reason I got out of reptiles for a little bit.
Holy shit.
Anything you hear about blood pythons, of them being temperamental and mean, is true. I don't care what anyone says. This was the worst snake I've ever had. It was just the most. I don't even think it was. I don't think it was defensive. I think it was aggressive. I think this snake went on the attack.
Dude, these snakes are fucking sausages.
Dude, they are fat. And this one wasn't full grown. It was probably 3 feet long, maybe 3.5 feet long.
Oh my god.
I bought it from a dude on Craigslist. My mistake. Actually, I traded him a Everglades rat snake and $40 for it. And I think I got the worst end of the deal, because it came in. It had mites and a respiratory infection. I treated the respiratory infection very quickly, and I got rid of the mites. I'm like, okay, snake's cool now. Moved it into the reptile room, and it was just, it ate fine. It ate rabbits, actually.
based.
Baby rabbits, it would eat those, but I couldn't get it out to do anything with it. I would put it in the middle of the floor, and I would get kind of low, and I'd be like, okay, if the snake crawls over to me and starts climbing on me, that's progress. No, it would sit there and stare at me. And then I had to use welding gloves. I had to wear an airsoft helmet so
Holy
it wouldn't bite me in the face, because it would bite me in the face a lot. I think one session, I didn't have a mask. I think I took 4 or 5 bites to the face. It would get my arms, legs, didn't care what it was. It just would bite. It would let go. Like, if it was wrapping around me, it would have been a lot worse.
Sounds like a great
I had the snake for 2 months, and I said, I can't do this anymore, and I sold it to somebody who has more experience with them. But that was the worst thing ever. Getting bit in the face by the snake. It just it just pinholes everywhere, and it was just, they would bleed, and it would leave these like crazy marks on them. It was the worst snake I've ever had. Very pretty though.
Jesus.
I do like the looks of them.
Because
I like
just
when I
my
look it up.
old job.
He was just giving you a kiss.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Real quick, when I look it up, the first thing that pops up is a video on YouTube that says, Blood Python, the best pet snake?
No, they are bad.
Everyone just go comment. No.
You
I
heard
would
it here.
say, if
You heard
you
it
don't get
first.
one off Craigslist and you buy a baby and work with it, it's probably okay. But if you just go out on Craigslist and buy one from some dude who lives in the middle of nowhere, like I did, you are not going to enjoy yourself, and you're going to want to get rid of that snake just as bad as I did.
I think that's just a good practice in general. To all of our listeners, don't buy Craigslist reptiles.
I've had some good experiences on Craigslist. This was the only bad one.
Well,
I've bought a lot of stuff on Craigslist.
at my old job, we had a rescue emerald tree boa, and that thing bit, and it hurt so
Those are
much.
mean in general.
They
Yeah,
have the longest teeth of any non-venomous snake,
yeah. No, he
and
bit,
they cause nerve damage.
he bit my arm multiple times, and it was just pouring blood. That thing was a terrifying animal, and I will never go near one again. But I also want one.
They are really pretty.
Actually, I've got an anecdote, just kind of going back to Craigslist real quick. So once a long time ago, I briefly worked at a Petco, and I don't think I told this story on the podcast yet. Briefly worked at a Petco. And basically, Petco's policy, you can't buy animals, but you can kind of quote unquote donate them and put them up for adoption. But anyway, one day the strange man came in and was like, "Hey, do you guys buy chinchillas?" No, we don't buy animals from people on the street, but if you need to get rid of a chinchilla, I mean, I'll talk to my boss. I'm sure, we can take it in. He's like, okay, I'll think about it. He comes back about 2 hours later, it's right before closing, and I shit you not, this guy brings in like 10 chinchillas. Chinchillas they're not, cheap animals. Like a basic gray chinchilla is like $100. He brings in 10 chinchillas, and they weren't just like the gray ones. There were white ones, albino ones, red chinchillas, which I didn't even know were a thing. And he brought all 10 of them in this one tiny ass cage. It was like probably like a 3x2 cage. All together, he's like, here, I can't have these. Like the motherfucker was making coats with them or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was a fur farm guy.
So I kind of was like, I kind of felt bad for him. I'm like playing with one, and like it's kind of cute. So I asked my boss, I was like, hey, if I bought everything here, can I have this like cool looking white one, and take the cage home? And he's like, yeah, sure. So I spent like $100, got like little dust baths and a book on chinchillas, because this was a time when books were a thing that you'd buy, which doesn't really happen anymore. So anyway, I got this chinchilla, and I named him Chinchilla Willie. And
That's a great name.
yeah, Chinchilla Willie turned out to be the worst fucking pet ever. First off, these things they are a type of squirrel, and they can jump from like just the ground. They can jump about 6 feet in the air. So I let him out of his cage, and
he bounced.
The thing would just like fucking run everywhere. Would never want to go back in his cage. He was and shit everywhere. And it was just not a good pet. I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't handling him properly, and it just wasn't working out. He also ate the drywall. I was living with my parents. I had the and he ate like all the drywall behind it. And it just me and Chinchilla really weren't working out. So I put it out on Craigslist. I was like, hey, I got this chinchilla. I don't know what kind it is, but I think it's a rare variant. Asking $100. And this guy reaches out to me. He lives in a place called Santee, which, if anyone knows San Diego, it's kind of where the meth heads live. So he's like, "Hey, can you deliver? I don't have a car." He's like, "I'll kick you down $20." I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I just want to make sure Chinchilla Willie goes to a new home." And I go to this house, and this fucking crackhead redneck guy, like missing all of his teeth, covered in tattoos, comes out. He's like, "Are you the guy with Chinchilla?" I'm like, can I see where you're going to put it? Like, I was kind of sketched out. I was like, I don't want to give my chinchilla to this fucking tweaker. So I go into his crackhead house, and this guy takes me into his room. I'm like, oh my God, this is actually kind of weird. And he opens his closet. He has like a walk-in closet. And it had this like probably the most extravagant, beautiful chinchilla setup I'd ever seen. It was like 6 stories tall and had little swings. And it was like the size of like a fucking phone booth, which for our younger listeners is the thing you used to use before cell phones existed. It was fucking incredible. And he starts talking about, like, he's like looking at this thing, he's like telling me all about the variants. He's like, yeah, it's actually a really rare chinchilla. Where'd you get this? And I told him the story where I got it. And he's like, okay, cool. Thanks. And I sold it to him on the pretense it was a male. I was like, his name's Chinchilla Willie. As I'm driving away, the guy calls me and he's like, hey, this is a female. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know shit about chinchillas. Is this going to be okay? He's like, well, now I need to consult my chinchilla specialist. Like, this fucking meth head guy has a chinchilla specialist, and it's just, the guy really likes his chinchillas. But anyway, he talks to his chinchilla specialist. It turns out it's going to be okay, and Chinchilla Willie became Chinchilla Wilma, and he went to a really good home. And that's my story. That's my little anecdote. That's my only like rant tirade anecdote of the podcast, I promise.
That was a wonderful story.
That was a roller coaster.
Chinchilla Willie.
Chinchilla Willie, he bounced around and
Hang on.
was destroyed.
I'll find a picture of Chinchilla Willie. He was really cool. He's white. Or she was white.
They're kind of cute.
Oh, they're adorable.
Yeah.
Highlight
I think
of this
you need to talk to
podcast
this guy.
is Chinchilla Willie.
We need to get Chinchilla. We need to get the owner of Chinchilla Willie on the podcast.
How long do chinchillas live? It's probably dead by now.
Actually,
No.
it's Chinchilla Wilma now.
Oh, my bad.
Please don't misappropriate.
Please don't misgender. Yeah, that's my fault.
I know. This is like right when Facebook became a thing. It was like 2008. But I know I have a picture somewhere on my phone that I pulled off like MySpace or some shit. You guys keep talking. I'll find it.
Funk just pulled a sleepaway camp and just raised poor Chinchilla Wilma as Chinchilla Willie.
That's a weird reference to make.
No, it's like that movie. What was that movie? The Antonio Banderas, where he like
Oh, the
forces.
skin I live in?
Skin I'm in.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spy Kids.
Spy
Spy Kids. Sir, what do you think about jar terrariums?
Jar terrariums are gross. I know you like them. I don't like them.
I know. I just wanted to hear your opinion.
Okay, you want an honest reason why I don't?
Yeah,
think they're
I
cool?
do. I want an honest.
The honest I've had jar terrariums.
Yeah.
So this is not coming from a place of uneducated hate.
Okay.
I do not like them because the point of a terrarium, to me, is to make it look nice. How do you make a spaghetti sauce jar look nice, full of moss? There is no way to do that.
You know what? Yeah, I'll give you that.
I found the picture.
I think mine look nice, but you know what? You make a good point.
Don't even show me because I don't want to make fun of it.
No, I've wanted a pickle jar, and it's like the ugliest thing ever.
Chili Wilma. That is a majestic animal.
Dude, it was a shit. It was an awful animal. Like, don't ever buy a kid a chinchilla, regardless how cute they are. They're not fun. They're just cute. That's about the only thing I got going for them.
They're probably a better thing to look at than the mess with.
For a ball python.
Yeah.
I think they'd be a good food for a ball.
I think it's too big.
I think it's too big. Well,
You can cut them up.
Ball pythons might be the most beta animal of all time, because I worked at guess what? Many years ago, just like Funk, I worked at a PetSmart. This was a long time ago, and we don't talk about these dark times of high school. I was bullied a lot.
For working at PetSmart?
No,
I don't think it's related.
Yeah, okay.
But we had king snakes, corn snakes, and ball pythons. As you might, I assume it's the same at PetSmart now, right?
Probably. I don't even know last time I've been in a
I haven't
PetSmart.
been in a while.
Yeah, well, me neither.
Every time
But
I go, the
it-
reptile enclosure is just empty, and it says, "New friends coming soon," and then no one ever comes.
Or they have like a half-dead veiled chameleon with a bowl of water.
Or they have assorted dart frogs.
Oh, we need to talk about.
The
chameleons
assorted dart
next.
frogs actually piss me off because the dart frog hobby is an amazing hobby. Okay, all the people in the dart frog hobby keep pure species, pure locales. They don't mix them. And then you go to Petco, and this
Blue dart frog, red dart
12-year-old
frog.
kid goes and he grabs a single Azurius and a single like green and black Costa Rican Aratus and put them in the tank. And best case scenario, the Azurius kills the Aratus. Worst case scenario, they hybridize and you get this like awful idiot
Bastard
frog. Yeah.
Idiot frog.
I've never seen poison dart frogs available at a Petco or PetSmart.
Neither have I. I've heard about it.
There
though.
are quite a few
My
Petcos, including my
LFS
local
does
Petco.
them.
But
My
they
LFS
just do. My local Petco just does assorted poison dart frogs, and it is basically just Azurius and Costa Rican green and black Aratus,
I
And
see,
and they're all $60 a piece.
Oh god.
I see. Around here, I see Mantellas a lot more. But going back to the story that I was telling
Oh,
before,
yeah, my bad.
Andy just chimed in here.
No, it was me.
because every Friday would be the day I would try not to work mornings.
Yeah.
Wednesdays and Fridays, because Wednesday I'd have to clean the bird enclosures, and I didn't want to do that. And I usually didn't. And then Friday was the snake feeding, and I hated doing the snake feeding because these animals took forever and it was boring, and I had to like just wait around. Not that I mostly use work to just watch TV shows in the back room and sleep, but so the king snake would usually eat really well. Most of the corn snakes, it took them a bit of time, they would eat a little well. And ball pythons, I had to smash up these pinky mice so I could smell them better. I had to fucking jostle it in his face. I had to poke him around a little bit. I had to make sure he was getting happy ending massages. He was such a bitch to eat because these ball pythons, I don't get them. And then one day, the ball pythons are always the easy one to take out. So one day we have a new ball python, and there's
Oh, they bite.
they're usually pretty good. I didn't get bit by many ball
The
pythons.
Petco ones always bit for me.
These ones didn't bite for me, but we had
PetSmart's better, I guess.
we had a new one come in, and he had knocked over his thermometer. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and pick up his thermometer and put it back on his little stand because I haven't done anything for the past 3 hours and I should get paid for a reason. There's a few people browsing the fish wall, and so as I'm putting this little thermometer back, this little python comes out and bites my thumb. And I've never been bitten by a ball python because they were so chill. So naturally the surprise leads to my basal instincts, and just like the
Crusty.
the lamprey story
Oh,
on
I thought you were
the
just smashed
last
against the wall.
podcast, I immediately dropped fucking cunt.
I was
So
waiting
there's-
for that. I'm like, yes, he will say it again.
There's a family with a kid there, and they're just staring at me like, dear Lord, he said the cursed word, and I was just happy I didn't say anything worse. But that's ball pythons.
Yeah.
So, sir, how do we feel about live feeding?
Personally, I don't care all that much. Obviously, if it's supervised, I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool, I guess. But to feed a snake by throwing a rat in and then saying I live feed my snakes, I have a big dick, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Obviously, if the animal won't eat anything else, I'm like, yeah, okay, you got to do what you got to do. I think if you're just feeding because you want to, it's like kind of, man, why are you doing that? But I can't like say it's like the worst thing ever. Obviously, that would be using a heat mat. It doesn't bug me that much.
Sure, but I don't know
It's
what
just
your
kinda
problem
whatever.
with heat mats is. Like on Earth, the animals naturally get their heat from the ground. You know.
From magma.
Yeah, exactly. They live in
Yeah.
volcanoes.
Okay. Have you
Reptiles
seen the
live in
video of the shark in the volcano?
Yeah, dude.
That's cool.
reptiles live in fucking volcanic.
Yeah, no, that's the
Ball
only-
python natural habitat is volcanic ash.
That's where Charmanders live.
I
Why is
I'm a
that
big
funny?
proponent of
I don't know.
herbivorous reptiles. I really like my herbivorous reptiles. That's why I like my Uromastics so much.
I've had one, two.
well, they always
were-
live.
Two green iguanas.
Well, they always need it hot because if you're feeding these reptiles vegetables and it's too cold for them, they can't properly digest. Because the only way they can break down this relatively inefficient food is with really high heat. So that's why I have my crazy wattage on my Uromastics cage, and it makes my room so fucking hot that my fish tank's been at 80 for 2 days. I'm trying to chill it, but I can't do it because I need to keep the lid on because they'll jump out because they're stupid animals.
Drop some ice cubes in it.
Yeah.
That's why I've literally been freezing water bottles and putting it in.
That works too.
Shout out to my man Myrtle from the aquarium guys for also using this big brain strategy for chilling aquariums.
Patented method.
Just freeze the tank.
I don't know. I don't like herbivorous reptiles. Omnivores, I'm just barely okay with, like my tegu, but I will never get any more. I don't like feeding things greens.
The poop's gross.
I just with my morning geckos, that's an omnivorous species. I primarily just feed them fruit flies. I throw in like a slice of banana every once in a while and some crested gecko diet like once a month.
Probably what I would do.
How do you recommend that I get my morning geckos used to handling?
I don't think you should, but if you really want to, I mean,
Why not?
You should
because
handle it.
they'll just kind of like they'll either jump away or run, and you'll never see them again. You can socialize them though. You can socialize them pretty much, so they at least recognize you as not something to eat them, but as a food bringer of food.
Have you bred that species before?
I've never had morning geckos. I wish.
Oh, do you know how long it takes for the eggs to hatch?
I don't know. I know.
Is
my
there anything I should
banded
do with
geckos
the
were
eggs?
No, I just leave them.
Because
Should eat them.
okay, because my one of mine laid a couple of eggs, maybe a month or so ago, and they're just sitting there chilling.
And it's probably either 45 or 60 days, which is like default for a lot of geckos.
Okay.
I know for crested geckos and some of the other geckos I know is usually around 2 months, but don't quote me on that. I don't know these things very well.
Yeah, it's probably 2 months. Then I don't know. I've just never
And
had
just wrong button. And they'll just subsist off of like springtails and stuff.
them. Yeah, babies you could probably feed more of the powdered diet if you don't have like unless you have a ton of like springtails or fruit
I
flies.
have a
to-
very large springtail population in my 10 gallons.
Nice.
Then they would probably be fine with that. Just give them more fruit more often.
Okay.
You know,
Nice springtails.
speaking to Andy here, I once had a friend who came up to me and he's like, "Dude, how do you think I should try to handle my anole?" I was looking at him like, "Run that by me again." Like, hold here.
How do I
Because
handle
the
this
nulls are
animal?
fast.
It's just a stupid animal to handle. It's not good.
That's
for the
another animal I've never had that apparently is like a rite of passage for so many people.
Everyone has an anole. I know there is a deep dark community called the Solafuge community, and they keep the degenerate camel spiders and sun spiders and shit. And I know people in that community who feed anoles and leopard geckos to their disgusting camel spiders.
Gross.
Not recommending that.
I feel
It's
like
a dark-
I feel like Horse would do that.
Oh, of course.
That is something horse would do.
Horse probably started it.
And for those of you who don't know, Horse was on one of our previous podcasts. He's the
Oh,
bug
man.
guy. He's great.
He the bug guy.
He's the bug guy. He's a scary individual.
No, he's hilarious.
He's hilarious, but he's scary. I feel like
Yeah.
if I slept over at his house, I'd wake up like covered in centipedes or some shit.
Centipedes are my favorite invert, by the way.
Oh, I
hate
hate centipedes.
I like,
They're the only
I
one
like
I would rather
millipede.
have.
I like millipedes.
I like-
'cause they're
yeah, I
so
like
I hate
millipedes
millipedes even more.
I've had
They
I
creep
have
me out.
millipedes right now. They're a good cleanup crew, but
What
centipedes
millipedes
are
do you
dope. Narcissus americanus,
Oh.
the giant North American. They're just native here, so I just grabbed a bunch of them,
Nice.
and then
like
they bred.
it,
and I have too
You
many.
just keep them in your tank. Just they just
Yeah, I
chill?
have them. I have them in with my garter snakes. They're like the best cleanup crew I've had for them.
How would they
Oh.
do in high humidity?
I think anything like above like 60%, they'll just die.
Okay.
Nice.
Because
Then
I had a
cannot
tub,
keep
and
them.
when I would spray them, I used to spray them like too much, and I'd always have some die off, and I was like, oh, that's not good.
Because I have feather millipedes. I forget what species they are. It's a pink feather millipede. They get like 2 inches max, but I'd really like a larger millipede as well because millipedes are some of my favorite arthropods.
I have so many in my garter snake tank. Honestly, a shed doesn't last like 5 or 6 days, and it's already gone. They come out at night and they just eat the whole thing. It's fun to watch, but
I just really like whip scorpions. Whip scorpions are cool. They vibe. They were in that one Harry Potter movie where that one professor just tormented some poor whip scorpion. It's kind of mean.
I've never seen Harry Potter. I don't know.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't recommend Harry Potter.
I'll avoid it then.
Watch with some
I have
friends,
a
maybe have them.
Brachycybele lecontii. Is the millipede I have.
I have the one that came from my basement.
Basement millipede. Based.
Speaking of basement bugs, I see more dubia roaches running around my basement than any other creature.
Ah,
I don't know where they got out of or when, but I see them all the time.
I find
That's disgusting.
I find isopods all the time in my room. I'm like, no.
If I kept dubias and I found them in my basement, I would be pissed. I would never keep roaches again. But I
stopped
also
keeping-
would never keep roaches in the first place because they're terrible creatures.
I
Oh,
stopped
Andy, those
keeping
are some nice
crickets because I
teeth,
found
too.
2 in my bed.
I think Horse would be so offended by
Oh yeah,
that.
Oscar, you were the one who said like whenever you keep crickets, you know there's just if you find one cricket out, then you know there's at least 5 more.
If you find one cricket out, you know that there's at least 30 more out. But if you find one cricket in your bed, there's 5 more in your bed. That's my general rule
If
of
you find
thumb.
one cricket in your bed, it's time to get rid of the crickets.
Yeah, the second I started finding crickets in my bed, I was like, all right, you're all going to die now.
Okay, let me tell you something. I didn't believe that when you first told me that last time. I now realize you were absolutely right because I found one cricket in my cat's litter box. I moved the litter box and there were 10 more behind it. And I was just like, this is probably time to quit with this.
Dumbass
crickets.
crickets.
Yeah, I will never fucking keep crickets.
Yeah,
I hate
The
fruit
smell is not
flies.
bad. The smell is not bad if you keep them right. If you keep them hot, they don't smell at all, so I don't get that part. But they escape for no reason. I don't know how they do it.
they just phase through. Now,
I'll
horse
open
told
it in
me
my bin right now.
The worst part of keeping dart frogs, you have to keep fucking fruit flies.
fruit flies are
Yeah, I'll never deal with that.
Oh god.
And I complain about fruit flies, and then people say, "Oh, we'll just breed crickets, delete pinhead crickets." Crickets are worse.
Here's the problem: is to get pinhead crickets, you need adult crickets.
Yeah,
That's like a
As-
huge downfall.
As someone who's kept both fruit flies and crickets, fruit flies are better in every conceivable way. Do not listen to
Yes.
anyone who says crickets are better.
I
Crickets
just
I
have,
need to start
I
fruit
just
fly
have fruit
cultures.
flies in my kitchen, so I catch them.
I feed my butterfly fish and stenopoma crickets, and I kept finding crickets were getting out when I didn't even keep crickets. I would literally just dump the bag in the aquarium.
and
was
they
like,
would get
How are they getting out? And I found out that they were climbing up the filter tube to get out. They were swimming to the filter tube and crawling up it to get out. But I have a backing, I have a full lid covering it, and I've taped all the holes. So I'm like, how did they get through the tape? And then I looked at the tape, and there's like 10 dead crickets stuck to my tape there. And apparently, so many did it that eventually this tape stopped being sticky because it was just covered in dead crickets, and they were able
Oh.
to wiggle out.
I thought you were saying like they climbed over the dead crickets like in World War Z or something.
No, they climbed through them.
Ew.
No, crickets are
Horrific.
horrible.
I know if you use tape on the bin that you hold them in, they'll just chew through the tape. They don't care.
Yeah, they're terrifying, man. If any of our listeners are living in one of those countries where they get ravaged by locusts, shoot us an email because I would like to know how terrible your life is, knowing that there are such horrifying creatures.
I like grasshoppers as feeders a lot better than crickets. You just can't sell them. But if
What's
you
the
have,
difference?
they're way bigger and they don't smell. The cricket smell, if you don't keep them heated enough, is one of the worst things ever. It smells like a corpse.
Imagine
Yeah.
the smell.
Like Petco, the trash can.
I keep finding these little green. I think they're grasshoppers. They might be
My
katydids.
Petco has an infestation of crickets on the floor constantly. They always get in the fish aquariums. The fish eat them.
That's nature.
I've been there
I
like
think
4
that's
times
most
and I see them.
Petcos. Unironically, I think that's
that's
like
it.
most
I don't know,
Petcos and
'cause-
pet stores.
There's another one close to me that doesn't have that problem, but this one has it bad.
I have a local store that a local pet store that focuses on herps, and they have crickets all over the place.
Can't get rid of them once you get.
And
Honestly,
it's not a
though-
bad store, you know. It's not like it's a gross store that sells shitty
But it
animals
just
and
has
takes better
crickets
care of
in
their
it.
animals. No, it's a good store, and they just have crickets on the floor
To be fair,
Yeah.
if
at all
you-
times.
if you don't have an infestation of bugs in your room that fall into your tanks and keep your fish fed, then I don't know what you're doing.
That's disgusting.
I know, I'm kidding.
That's disgusting. Brendan, if I found fruit flies in my room, like if I found a substantial amount of fruit flies in my bedroom, I would nuke my dart frog tanks immediately
I find them
and never
in the,
keep them again.
I find them in the kitchen. I mean, like, you'll have like it's like there's a tiny bit of tomato and they're all on it, and I'm like,
Ooh.
oh, you guys suck.
Well, yeah, but I mean like the wingless ones.
oh
When I
no,
saw
yeah,
them get
no.
out.
Oh yeah. Oh.
It'd be hard to have a wingless fruit fly infestation. 'Cause I don't think
No,
they. I don't think they.
Well, no,
can
they would
travel.
ball together in like a mass and create like a new entity.
A mating ball. That's gross.
Yeah, that's fucking disgusting. So went from the informative reptile cast to the disgusting insect vomit cast.
I think we should probably draw it to a close soon. I think
Yeah.
we've hit all of our marks. But I
Our
guess to end
bases.
off, Serp, you keep a tegu. What's his name again?
Delta.
Is he the best reptile there is?
I don't know. I'm partial to snakes. I love snakes. But I would say if you could only have one reptile, it should be either a tegu or monitor. You're just going to get the most interaction out of it.
Or a musk turtle. Musk turtles are also acceptable.
river.
Maybe a fly river.
Fly river turtle. They're so cute.
I have a story to share.
Okay,
Very
this-
important
This how we'll
story.
end.
Gotta be some pressure.
Maybe
You gotta make it good
about
enough.
about a month ago, I had a dream, and in said dream, I had undescribed reptile, undisclosed reptile. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and
This is a true
to
story.
feed my reptile, I was keeping a dubia roach colony, right? And this is already unrealistic. I would never fucking keep dubia
I remember
roaches.
this story.
I hate roaches so much. And in my dream, the roaches at their is the term instar
Yes.
for like at their final instar, they turned into cats.
What?
Okay.
And one of the cats was gray and ended up being my pet cat. So the moral of the story is Whenever I get my first cat, I'm gonna name it Roach.
That's
After the cat in my dream.